Hey, mainstream media, or what's left of you. I don't know if you've noticed, but Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party are going down like the Titanic right now. You can try to ignore it. You can pretend everything is just fine. But it's over, and there is nowhere to go but down. So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to try to save yourself, or will you go down with the ship? Every day we learn more about how rotten and deceptive the Democratic Party really is. Their leader, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, has already resigned along with many of her top staffers. And it all went down during the disastrous Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia. And as of now, new leader Donna Brazile is under fire for lying and cheating.
You were accused of receiving a debate question before a CNN town hall where they partnered with TV One, and that you had this question on March 12th, that verbatim was provided by Roland Martin to CNN the next day. How did you get that question, Donna?
Well, Kelly, since I play straight up, and I'll play straight up with you, I did not receive any questions from CNN. Let's just be
Where'd
very
you get it?
clear.
Where did you get it?
First of all, what information are you providing to me that will allow me to see what you're talking about?
For Brazile to share a question with the campaign, it breaches every journalistic rule that there is.
Your email to the Clinton camp said, sometimes I receive the questions in advance. And
you know
CNN is saying Roland Martin gave them to you or someone at TV One, and they were provided to Hillary before that town hall.
And we have more surprises on the way. In fact, it's highly likely that by the time you see this video, something bigger is already dropped.
Thank God I have not had my personal emails ripped off from me and stolen and given to some criminals to come back altered. Hello, future. Is Donna Brazile still the head of the Democratic Party? We also have proof that the Democrats are joined at the hip with the mainstream media. Now we can confirm what we already knew. You guys are no longer the noble watchdogs protecting the people from corruption. Nowadays, journalists are mostly a bunch of corporate hacks and lapdogs fighting to keep their power and their paychecks and their access. Do as you're told. Toe the party line. Or face the modern-day equivalent of excommunication. Speaking of which, did you know that the Democrats are so scared of the WikiLeaks revelations that John Kerry of the State Department had to put pressure on the country of Ecuador to shut down Julian Assange's internet? These leaks have been so devastating that Hillary even allegedly called for the assassination of Julian Assange with a drone strike. But that's just WikiLeaks. We also have Project Veritas dropping news bombshells every day, this time with hidden cameras. In fact, they've already exposed some of the Democrats' dark operatives admitting to causing mischief and violence to blame on their opponents.
Nobody's really supposed to know about me. So the Chicago protest, when they shut all that was us. It was more him than me, but none of this is supposed to come back to us.
Me and I did the Chicago Trump event where we shut down the light bulbs. Yeah.
Zulema Rodriguez and Aaron Black are bragging about a protest last March that turned extremely violent and led the Trump campaign to cancel a huge rally. Fights broke out between protesters and Trump supporters, and 2 Chicago police officers were injured. Based on our reporting, the event was not spontaneous.
We have to be really careful because what we don't need is for it to show up on CNN that the DNC paid for X people to, that's not going to happen.
We have mentally ill people that we pay to do shit. Make no mistake.
Remember when that news dropped? Almost every media outlet in the country, except for the alt-right, blacked it out for almost an entire day. The silence on social media was deafening. You could sense the panic, but all the left that could do was pretend that nothing ever happened. Except it did happen, and it backfired spectacularly at the debates.
Where he incites violence, where he applauds people who are pushing and pulling and punching at his rallies. That is not who America is.
So sad when she talks about violence at my rallies, and she caused the violence. And I think it's her campaign, because what I saw, what they did, which is a criminal act, by the way, where they're telling people to go out and start fistfights and start violence. And I'll tell you what, in particular in Chicago, people were hurt and people could have been killed in that riot. And that was now all on tape, started by her.
But as it later turned out, there was actually a good reason for why there was a blackout of this key news story, and that's fear. You see, the networks all feared retaliation in the event of a future President Hillary.
Those television stations spiked the story at the last minute. Our sources tell us the reason they did so was fear of retaliation and retribution from a future Hillary Clinton administration.
Wow, does that sound like someone we want to be in charge of the country? Somebody who scares the entire media into compliance? Are we electing a queen or a mafia don? But that was just the aftermath of the first bombshell video. The sting also uncovered the quite candid confession of voting fraud. I know the Democrats are always like, what voting fraud? But it looks to me like it's a well-known open secret.
It's a very easy thing for Republicans to say, well, they're busting people in. Well, you know what? We've been busting people in to these fucking assholes for 50 years, and we're not going to stop now. We're just going to find a different way to do it.
Two of those operatives are already out of the picture. Scott Fovel has been fired, and Bob Kramer just miraculously retired. What a coincidence.
Bob Kramer is diabolical, and I love him for it. Yeah. I've learned so much from that man over the last 20 years, I can't even tell you.
And did you know that Bob Kramer actually visited the White House 342 times? 47 of those times personally with President Obama. What do you know? Two community organizers from Chicago. I wonder what they talked about. Speaking of which, remember Obama in 2008?
I would just like to know what you can say to reassure us that this election will not be rigged or stolen.
I come from Chicago, so I want to be honest. It's not as if it's just Republicans who have monkeyed around with elections in the past. Sometimes Democrats have too. You know, whenever people are in power, they have this tendency to try to, tilt things in their direction.
Then we have Obama in 2016.
Repeatedly now, Donald Trump has said that this election will be rigged against him, challenging really the core foundation of our democratic system.
Of course the elections will not be rigged. What does that mean?
But it's somehow offensive when Donald Trump questions the integrity of the voting system and thinks it might be rigged. Oh, but if Donald Trump does win, then it's the fault of the Russians?
Michael Morell, the former acting director of the CIA who has publicly endorsed Hillary Clinton, reiterated his charge that Trump has become an unwitting agent of Vladimir Putin.
But it's not over. There are plenty more Project Veritas videos on their way.
Our series of videos from this investigation will continue up until the election.
And like WikiLeaks, they also have a surprise in store for Donna Brazil.
An imposter walking into our office trying to get staff people to do X and Y and then come up with this video. I feel very strongly.
And since you're watching this from the future, was it as devastating as advertised?
You say that the tapes are falsified?
Mr. O'Keefe enjoys falsifying records. He did it with NPR. He's done it with
what about in
numerous
this
sources.
case?
But Kelly, can I ask you, we're at a presidential debate.
So is Donna still in charge of the party? Or is she still pretending that all the videos were maliciously edited?
He has doctored some videos as he's done before.
And that the Russians are somehow responsible. These people are so predictable.
Do you have proof that it was Russia?
Sir, as we've stated, and the United States government has also stated, and if you would like a copy of the Department of Homeland Security and the information that they released 2 weeks ago, you're welcome to have it, but I'm sure you have it. But
Yeah, they also told us we had WMDs. Why should we trust this?
Because we have ample evidence. We've been the victim of a cybercrime. We have ample evidence. We have ample evidence through our servers and through all of the technology that we have seen corrupted by the fingerprints used by Russian hackers.
But whatever happens with the underground emails and the undercover videos, the Clinton campaign still has another major obstacle, you know, besides all of the lingering scandals and baggage she has already. That is this. What is going on with Hillary's health?
Did you talk about vice presidential possibilities?
After her fall on 9/11, her campaign claimed it was ammonia, but some of us have our doubts. Between the blood clots and the concussions and the funky, outdated medication, there's still plenty to be concerned about. She's also been noticeably absent from the campaign trail. Does she have a neurological condition? Does she have a possible brain tumor?
It's not a tumor.
How about Parkinson's disease? Who knows?
Here are the basic facts. She had 2 episodes of what's called deep venous thrombosis. Common problem, blood clots in the leg. She also has hypothyroidism. Then she falls, hits her head, and as a complication of that has something called a transverse sinus thrombosis. This is an exceedingly rare clot. I've only seen one of these in my career, which is a clot in the collecting system for the cerebral spinal fluid. And it essentially guarantees that somebody has something wrong with their coagulation system. And they're using an old-fashioned medicine to treat it. What is going on with her health care? When she hit her head, she had to wear these prism glasses when she came out. That is brain damage.
Whatever condition she has, there's obviously more going on than what we're being told. So do you really want to try to prop her up for the next 4 to 8 years and pretend that there's absolutely nothing wrong with her? We have to assume that her medical condition is only going to get worse. So what are you going to say when she has another medical episode? Especially after so many people tried to warn you, and you responded by calling them conspiracy theorists?
It's moments like these that right-wing groups are pouncing on to push the narrative that Hillary Clinton's health is failing.
Honestly, do either of these people look like they're gonna make it 8 years? And do you realize that if they don't, we're gonna be stuck with some creepster named Kane? But let's not get ahead of ourselves, because there's still one other lingering problem that we should probably discuss because it involves the literal destruction of our planet. That, of course, is World War III with Russia. Remember, the official narrative from the Clinton campaign and the Democratic Party is that the Russians are behind everything. They are the ones hacking all of our emails. They're the ones involved in all the cyber crimes. They're the ones that are out of line in Syria. They are also responsible for interfering with our elections because they are somehow connected to Donald Trump.
These cyber attacks come from the highest levels of the Kremlin, and they are designed to influence our election. I find that deeply disturbing, and I think it's
She
time
has no
that you
idea
take a
whether it's
stand,
Russia,
because
China, or anybody else.
I am not quoting
she has
myself.
No idea.
I am quoting
Hillary, you
17.
have no idea.
And every pro-Trump personality in the media is also a secret Russian agent. Got it, comrade? Of course, there's no proof to any of that being true. But who cares? After all, if the Republicans once lied to us about WMDs to get us into a war, why can't we? It's fair game, right? Only this isn't Iraq, and these aren't the ragtag remnants from the first Gulf War. These are the Russians, as in our former arch-nemesis Russians. This is a legitimate, formidable nuclear superpower. A war that we could never fight because it wasn't possible to win. Everyone would stand to lose. And as it stands today, this is the actual direction that Hillary Clinton, the Democratic Party, and their accomplices in the mainstream media are actually taking us. Are we really going to go along with this? Is this going to be our future? Are we really going to allow this corrupt woman and this corrupt administration to drag us into a war under false circumstances? All so we can keep them in power and protect them from being persecuted? Is she really worth it? Donald Trump might be a threat to the establishment, but Hillary Clinton is a threat to our entire civilization.
She led the way in Libya. She's trying to start an air war with Russia over Syria, which means if Hillary gets elected, we're kind of going to war with Russia, folks. A nuclear-armed power, while we have 2,000 nuclear weapons on hair trigger alert.
And sure, you can complain about his tax returns or his alleged sexual misconduct, and you can point out the hyped-up polls all day, but between WikiLeaks, Project Veritas, and Hillary's health, just to name a few, there is nowhere to go but down. You can only hold the dam back for so long. And like a war with Russia, there is no winning with a Hillary Clinton presidency. Her administration is a guaranteed disaster. And ironically, in protecting Hillary Clinton and the establishment, the mainstream media will become the modern-day American equivalent of Pravda. That would be the old Soviet communist mouthpiece. So I ask you, mainstream media, liberal media, what are you going to do? Do you value your honor and credibility? Or will you risk it all to keep your fellow humans in the dark to protect Hillary? Are you a journalist or a propagandist? Journalists protect the people from corruption and should be considered heroes. Propagandists protect corruption from the people, and they should be tried for treason. The truth is going to come out eventually, and probably much sooner than you think. So please, don't be on the wrong side of history. Thank you for listening. Peace and love.